welcome to episode number 5, numero 5, of the Cheese and Alien Show. Kind of fans off pretty, not exciting race at Fontana this past weekend. Well, as far as the Cup side, the Nationwide was as spectacular as ever. Cup race was uber boring. I am a teacher, and the entire race I was grading papers, and it was just background noise. That's how boring it was. It didn't keep my eyes glued to the TV, and I am a fan of any race, any kind of race. It doesn't matter what the history is of the track. A race is a race. So it was very disappointing to me to have such a slow, not very exciting race on Sunday. Although my man Denny did lead the first lap, which was wonderful. Okay, so to get into today's episode, first, since I was the winner of fantasy this week, I wanted to start off with that, and it was very exciting. Again, we do all three things on the NASCAR fantasy games. We have 3 different teams. We have, as far as the Fantasy Live, we have our face-offs that we compare, we have our streak that we compare, and we also go by the ESPN team. And I won by 3 points. So I'm very stoked about that. It was very, very close, so I was excited that I could pull off the win this week. And so, also with the shout-outs for this week, our first shout-out, is for Justin Allgaier. He had an amazing race on Saturday. Amazing. He was battling he was in the top 5 most of the race. He had an amazing car until the end when he almost blew up. He had trouble with the engine. So Justin, we're very sad that you had such a horrible ending, but we were so excited for the performance that you showed during that race. Next one is for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's kind of a regular on this show, and he fought hard the whole race. He was another one, along with Justin, that was battling for, he was going for the top the entire time. And especially at the end, he made it very exciting. And so, unfortunately, he couldn't get that win, but, he had an amazing race, and that's what we want to see. The next one, Brian Scott, which I remember a couple weeks ago, I talked to him about becoming the next Steve Wallace. Well, he got his first top 5 of the 2012 season. Very impressive. And it's the most impressive thing, he was not Steve Wallace and he didn't wreck. I felt very proud of him for that. So I hope he keeps it up and we see much bigger and better things from him. The next, the little 38 of the Nationwide from the Turner Motorsports, Brad Sweet. That he did an amazing job. I guess I hadn't noticed him race before, but he was fantastic. He did a great job in that car, in that 38 car for Turner, that Chevrolet. I was very happy with what he did. He just did fantastic, and so I just wanted to give him a shout out, give him props for that fantastic race he had. And finally, Kurt Busch and James Finch, Phoenix Racing, they got their first top 10 together. Very, very impressive, very exciting. Everyone was unsure of what Kurt Busch would do this season with a not so good team, and he's showing that he can do it. He can truly race anything. And so very proud for James Finch, Kurt Busch, fantastic job. Although it is kind of bittersweet that my Iowan, Landon Castle, lost that ride because of Kurt Busch. But Kurt, fantastic job. Alright, so now done with the shout-outs. Next I want to talk about some things for the week. And we definitely want to talk about Kyle Busch. Like, we are not fans whatsoever. We will admit, we enjoy his commercials. He is a funny guy. but we are not fans overall. But we do want to say congrats and good job for what he did on the nationwide race on Saturday. It was awesome. He started in the rear. He came and he was fighting for the lead. He was in the front for a good part of the second half of the race. So great job, Kyle Busch. You're doing a good job with your team. So we just wanted to bring that up and say you're doing a good job. Next, we have some pleas. Some pleas for help. The Cheese and Alien would love to see Kenny Wallace and Trevor Bayne to continue in the Nationwide Series as long as possible. Again, Kenny only has 5 or 6 more races that he has lined up as for right now with sponsors, and Trevor continues to play it week by week. Now he does have some of the cup rides, but he's going for the championship in Nationwide. We need him there. We need this Roush boy to get a second Jack Roush Nationwide Championship 2 seasons in a row. That would be super fantastic. He is a fabulous driver. He's a wonderful person off the track, as well as Kenny. Both guys are just wonderful. And I do have to love Kenny a lot for being a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Cheese may not appreciate that, but Kenny, I am totally with you with the St. Louis Cardinals. 2011 World Series champions. Way to go, Cardinals. All right, next, Speed Channel. Talked about them a couple weeks ago, and I'm just impressed. They continue to give amazing interviews. They don't continue to focus on the big names of NASCAR. They focus on, some of the big names, but they also talk about some other people that should be talked about. So I just want to give them props again for those amazing interviews. Okay, next, I have some bones to pick. My first one is for Darian Grubb. Now, Phoenix was amazing. We got that Phoenix win with a new team. Very impressive. But I just have one thing to say to you, and it doesn't even take a word. What were you thinking? I completely understand. You were hoping the clear would rain out. You were hoping that it would all be good after, you get a few sprinkles. But looking at that radar, I knew we were not going to race again. So I wasn't too pleased with Darian Grubb's choice to come in and pit, get some tires during the yellow for the rain. Was not very happy with that, and so therefore Denny Hamlin he was not in the top 10. He got in 11th place, which is not bad. There's nothing to sneeze at. But I would have loved to see him in the top 10 or even the top 5, because that's where he ran all race. He was there, and he didn't get the finish. Next is Tony Stewart. Yes, I will admit, talented driver. But with his little slide-up deal that he kept doing, I know that's part of racing, but it got on everyone's nerves. Got on Kevin Harvick's nerves, and I am proud of him for sticking up and saying, hey, I did not appreciate you doing that. He did that in front of Denny Hamlin. And Denny Hamlin was too nice to do anything about it, but you could tell he was a little irritated. And he really got on my nerves. Tony Stewart. I just don't know what else to say. I will again say, you are a great driver. I'm not a fan overall, but I will give you props for your fantastic driving. And in a way, I can say you deserve that win on Sunday. You did a great job in the race. I'm just sorry, not happy. Next, bone to pick with, I don't know who exactly to pick it with, whether it's ESPN or whoever, but we were promised, again, the Cheese and I, we are big Roush fans, so we absolutely loved the RickyVSTrevor.com last season. All those videos they put up were hilarious. We loved each and every one of them. We were promised, before the race on Saturday, we were promised that we would get to see a new Ricky versus Trevor video, including NHRA driver Jack Beckham. They were going to do a little drag race, or excuse me, a go-kart race. Where was that? I didn't see it. Did it just happen in 10 seconds and I just completely missed it? Where was it? Is it going to be published somewhere? So we really want to see that video. It better show up very soon. And then finally, this isn't a bone to pick. I will say that this is not a bone to pick. This is another happy note. I am loving that the Nationwide Series, last year they had In the Draft with Elliott Sadler, and so we got an article every other week, you know, Elliott talking about the different tracks and everything that's going on in his life. And I am loving this year for the Nationwide Series. They are doing every week, but they're doing it between two different drivers. They have Justin Allgaier, who's going every other week, and then in the off week for Justin, they post an article from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So it's very exciting to see these up-and-coming, fantastic drivers. And we get an inside look as to what's going on in their lives, and get to know a lot more about these. This is one of the main reasons I love this sport. The fans get to know about their drivers. They get to get into the inside lives of these drivers that are driving around the track every week. In other sports, you get to see, most of the time, you get to, possibly get an autograph with them, get to do a little meet with them in their uniform before the game. Then during the game, they're completely busy, which is the same for NASCAR. And then after the game, you might possibly get a chance to encounter these baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever players they are. After the game, you have to wait outside of their locker room and probably wait, 2 hours for them to get out. And then you can possibly get their autograph and everything. NASCAR is the most open sport for fans. It is fantastic, with being at the Chicagoland race in June for the Nationwide Series. I mean, they had a meet and greet with the drivers. It was a night race, so they had a meet and greet or little autograph session in the afternoon. So the Cheese and I stood in the sun, the blistering sun and humidity, for an hour and a half, waiting to see our drivers. Well, an hour and a half before the actual autograph session began, and then it took us probably another 45 minutes until we could get under the tent and meet the drivers. So, again, my Chicagoland flag that I have, 14 different drivers. They had 16 at the autograph session, but I got autographs from 14 of them, and we had a very fun conversation, the Cheese and I, with Mike Wallace. He was the first in line. He saw that the line was going kind of slow, so we got to know more about us. What other sport does that happen in? I have no clue. So I just want to say this In the Draft for the Nationwide Series is such a wonderful thing. We got to know more about Elliott last year, and now this year we get to learn a lot more about Justin Allgaier and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So it's just a wonderful thing that NASCAR is doing. Well, that's all I have to say about this week that we had in Fontana. And tune in next week to see what the Cheese has to say after a weekend in Martinsville. I have a feeling she's going to have quite a bit to say, and I don't know if it'll be all about hot dogs. Don't think it'll be all about hot dogs, but we'll see what she has to say from what happens out there at Martinsville. So, hope you tune in next week, and have a wonderful week.